The moment everything goes wrong. There's a very specific kind of silence. The kind that fills a room right before something terrible happens. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It just lingers. And in that silence, there's always a choice. A small decision. One that seems harmless in the moment. But in horror stories, that one decision is often the difference between survival and something far worse. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Horror movies aren't really about monsters. They're about people. And more importantly, they're about the asterisk decisions people make when fear takes control. Tonight, we're not just looking at the dumbest decisions in horror movies. We're stepping inside them. We're going to relive those moments. Not as viewers, but as if we were standing right there. Feeling the same fear. Hearing the same sounds. Making the same choices. And by the end, you might realize something unsettling. Those dumb decisions, they might not be as unrealistic as you think. Case File 1, the roadside pipe. It starts on an empty road. No traffic, no houses, just miles of silence stretching in every direction. 2 siblings, a long drive, and that strange feeling that something isn't right. They see him before he sees them. A man, standing by the side of the road, throwing something into a large, rusted pipe. Something wrapped, too big to be trash, too human to ignore. For a moment, time slows down. You know that instinct, that quiet voice in your head that whispers, "Keep driving." That voice exists for a reason. It's the part of your brain designed to protect you, to keep you alive. But here, where things begin to fall apart. They don't listen. They slow down. They look. And in doing so, they make the first mistake. Because now, he sees them too. The tension shifts instantly. What was once curiosity turns into something colder, something dangerous. They drive away, but it's too late. The man follows. His truck roars behind them like a predator that's been awakened. Too fast, too aggressive, too intentional. Now ask yourself this. If you were there, what would you do? Most people like to believe they'd go straight to the police. Drive until they find safety. Forget what they saw. Move on. But fear doesn't work like that. Fear doesn't make you logical. It makes you curious, obsessive. It plants a question in your mind that refuses to go away. What did I just see? And that question is exactly what pulls them back. They return to the pipe, back to the place they should have never stopped. The air feels heavier now. Still, wrong. Every horror story has a turning point, a moment where everything could still be undone. This is that moment. They could leave. They could walk away. They could survive. But instead, they look inside. Darkness, endless, uninviting. And then, a sound, soft, barely noticeable, but enough to trigger something deep inside the brain. Instead of running, he climbs down. This is where logic completely collapses. Because at this point, it's no longer curiosity. It's something else. Something psychologists call completion bias. The need to finish what you started. To know the truth no matter the cost. And that need kills him. Because the pipe wasn't just a hiding place. It was an entrance. A doorway into something far worse than they could have imagined. And the moment he stepped inside, He stopped being a witness. He became a target. Why do people do this? Let's pause for a second. Because it's easy to sit there and say, I would never do that. But statistically, that's not true. In real-life situations, people often move toward danger before they move away from it. It's called threat curiosity. And it's the same reason people slow down to look at accidents, investigate strange noises at night, open doors they should. Your brain doesn't just want safety. It wants answers . And sometimes, answers are more dangerous than the threat itself. Case file 2, the envelope. Now imagine a different scenario. Not a road, not a killer, but something far more deceptive. A mistake, a small one, the kind you wouldn't even think twice about. A woman believes she's safe. She's been through hell. Literally. Fought something unseen. Something unnatural. And now, it's over. Or at least, she thinks it is. There's relief in her eyes. The kind that comes after surviving something impossible. She laughs. She breathes. She finally feels free. But horror doesn't always end with a scream. Sometimes, it ends with silence and a single overlooked detail. An envelope. Simple, ordinary, forgettable. Inside it is everything. But she doesn't check. And that's the mistake. Because in horror, assumptions are deadly. She believes she got rid of the cursed object. She believes she's safe. She believes it's over. But belief isn't truth. And when the truth finally reveals itself, it's too late. The wrong envelope. The wrong choice. The wrong ending. There's something terrifying about this kind of mistake. Because it's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't involve running or screaming. It's quiet, subtle, human, and that's what makes it so real. The psychology of overconfidence. After surviving danger, the human brain does something strange. It relaxes too quickly. It assumes the threat is gone, even when there's no real proof. This is called false resolution. And it's incredibly common. Think about it. You double-check something important, but not thoroughly. You assume you locked the door. You trust your memory without verifying. In normal life, these mistakes are harmless. In horror, they're fatal. Because horror doesn't punish weakness. It punishes certainty. Case file 3, the ultimate sacrifice, or was it? Now we move to a different kind of decision. Not curiosity, not carelessness, but something much harder to question. Sacrifice. A man stands in the final moments of a nightmare. The world around him is broken, ruined, beyond saving. He has one chance, one final move. He can save others, but not himself. Or at least, that's what he believes. The creatures are closing in. Vast, relentless, no hesitation, no mercy. There's a safe place nearby, a shelter, strong enough to protect them. But instead of stepping inside, he stays out. And then, he pulls the pin. The explosion ends everything. Heroic, emotional, powerful. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It didn't have to happen. There was enough time, enough space, enough opportunity to survive. But in that moment, he didn't choose logic. He chose meaning. The illusion of the hero decision. In extreme situations, humans don't always act to survive. Sometimes, they act to matter. This is where horror becomes deeply psychological. Because the decision to sacrifice yourself isn't always about necessity. Sometimes, it's about control. When everything feels hopeless, doing something big feels better than doing something smart. And that's the trap. Because horror doesn't just manipulate fear. It manipulates identity. It makes people believe, this is what I'm supposed to do, even when it is. And this is only the beginning. 3 decisions, 3 moments, 3 lives that could have gone differently. But we're just getting started. Because the next mistakes, they get worse, much worse. We're talking about choosing pride over survival, trusting the wrong people, and walking straight into danger, fully aware of it. And one decision that might be the most frustrating of them all. A moment where someone is seconds away from escaping and throws it all away. Not because they had to, but because they hesitated. And in horror, hesitation is deadly. So the question is, how many of these mistakes would you avoid? Or are you already closer to these characters than you think? The sound behind you. There's a moment that exists in almost every nightmare. A moment so small, so simple, but so devastating. You're running. Your heart is pounding so hard it feels like it might tear through your chest. Your lungs burn. Your legs are shaking. But you're close. So close. You can see safety. Lights. People. Noise. Life. And then, you make a choice. You look back. That's it. That's the moment everything ends. Case file 4, the final glance. She was seconds away. Not minutes. Not even a full breath. Seconds. The street ahead was alive. Music echoing through the air. Crowds moving. Voices overlapping. If she had just kept running, she would have disappeared into them. Vanished. Safe. But fear has a way of rewriting logic. Because when you're being chased, your brain doesn't just want escape. It wants confirmation. How close is he? Am I actually safe? Is it over? Those questions feel harmless, but they're lethal. So she slows down. Just slightly. Just enough to turn her head. And in that one movement, everything collapses. Because the killer was closer than she thought. Much closer. That glance didn't just cost her time. It cost her momentum. And momentum is everything when survival depends on distance. Why looking back is so dangerous. There's a psychological reason this happens. It's called threat monitoring. When humans are in danger, the brain constantly tries to track the threat, not just escape it. It's an ancient survival instinct, one that helped our ancestors survive predators. But here the problem. In modern horror scenarios, tracking the threat often means slowing down, hesitating, breaking rhythm. And that's all it takes. Because danger doesn't need much. Just one mistake, 1 second, one glance, and suddenly, you're no longer escaping. You're caught. Case file 5, the trap you didn't need to enter. Now imagine something different. You're not being chased. You're not running. You're standing in a room. Quiet, controlled, almost safe. In front of you is a solution, a way out. You can see it. You can almost touch it. But there's a catch. There's always a catch. The mechanism is simple. Too simple. And that's what makes it suspicious. Two openings. Dark. Unclear. Inside them, something waits. But you don't know that yet. All you know is, this leads to freedom. And here where things start to go wrong. You don't look around. You don't analyze the room. You don't search for alternatives. Because stress has already taken over. Your brain has entered survival shortcut mode. This is where logic shrinks. Options disappear. And the first visible solution becomes the only asterisk solution. So you act. Quickly. Impulsively. You reach in. And instantly, you regret it. Pain explodes through your body. Sharp, violent, unforgiving. Because the solution was never the solution. It was a test. And you failed it. The danger of panic decisions. In high-stress situations, the brain does something dangerous. It prioritizes speed over accuracy. This is known as asterisk cognitive tunneling. Instead of seeing the full picture, you focus on one thing, one path, one answer, and you ignore everything else. It's why people miss obvious exits, ignore warnings, walk into traps that could have been avoided. Because under pressure, thinking feels like a luxury, and acting feels like survival. But in horror, acting without thinking is often worse than doing nothing at all. Case File 6, the decision that killed everyone. Now let's talk about something even more dangerous. Not fear, not panic, but selfishness disguised as logic. A small town, bright skies, warm water, tourists everywhere. On the surface, everything feels perfect. But beneath it, something is wrong. Something massive, silent, hungry. The warnings were clear. People knew. There were signs, evidence, but the beach stayed open. Why? Because closing it would cost money. That's it. That's the reason. Profit over safety. Denial over reality. And for a while, it worked. Nothing happened. No attacks. No proof. Which made it easier to believe. Maybe it's not that bad. But horror doesn't care about belief. It waits. And then, it proves you wrong. Violently. The psychology of denial. This is one of the most realistic mistakes in all of horror. Because it happens in real life all the time. It's called normalcy bias. The belief that things will continue as they always have. Even when there's clear evidence they won't. People ignore danger because accepting it is inconvenient. It disrupts their life. It forces difficult decisions. So instead, they wait. And waiting is what makes the outcome worse. Because by the time the danger becomes undeniable, it's already too late. Case File 7, letting the wrong person in. Now imagine the worst possible night. Not because of what's outside, but because of what's allowed inside. A family, safe, protected, locked behind layers of security. Or at least, that's what they think. Outside, chaos, violence, lawlessness, a night where anything is allowed. And then, a voice, desperate, broken, begging, "Please help me." This is where things get complicated, because this isn't about fear anymore. It's about morality. Do you help, or do you survive? The child chooses. He opens the door, and in that moment, he doesn't just let a stranger in. He lets danger in, because the world outside wasn't just filled with victims. It was filled with hunters. And now, they have a way inside. Emotion versus survival. This decision is one of the hardest to judge, because it's human, deeply human. Empathy is powerful. It overrides logic. It challenges fear. But in horror, empathy can be exploited, because not everyone asking for help is safe to trust. And sometimes, saving one person puts everyone else at risk. The real question. By now, a pattern is starting to form. These decisions aren't random. They're not just bad writing. They're reflections of real human behavior. Curiosity, fear, panic, denial, empathy. All of it is real. All of it is relatable. And that's what makes horror so effective. Because deep down, you know, you might have done the same thing. But we're not done. Because the next decisions, they're different. They involve overconfidence, underestimating the threat, and making choices that feel smart but are. And one moment where someone had the perfect chance to end everything, to finally win, and they threw it away. All because of one simple need. To no asterisk. And sometimes, knowing the truth is the worst thing you can do. The need to know, even when it kills you. There's something deeply human about wanting answers. Not guesses, not assumptions, but certainty. We don't like loose ends. We don't like not knowing. And in normal life, that instinct helps us. It pushes us to learn, to grow, to understand the world around us. But in horror, that same instinct becomes a weapon. Because sometimes, the truth isn't something you're meant to find. Case File 8, The Mask asterisk. It should have ended right there. After everything, all the fear, all the running, all the years of being hunted. This was the moment. The final confrontation. She had him. The man who had haunted her life was hanging in front of her. Helpless, defenseless, finished. All she had to do was let go. One simple action, one decision, and it would all be over. But then, a thought enters her mind. A question. What if it's not really him? That's all it takes. Because suddenly, this isn't about survival anymore. It's about certainty. She steps closer. Carefully, slowly, her hands reach out. And she makes the worst possible choice. She removes the mask. In horror, masks aren't just disguises. They're protection. Not for the killer, but for the victim. Because as long as the face is hidden, the threat is simple, clear, final. But once you reveal it, everything becomes complicated. Doubt enters. Emotion follows. Hesitation grows. And hesitation is fatal. Because the moment she needed to act, she paused. And in that pause, the balance shifted. What was once control became vulnerability. And just like that, the nightmare continued. The psychology of confirmation. Humans struggle with uncertainty more than danger. Think about that. We would rather risk everything than live with doubt. This is called asterisk confirmation bias. The need to verify what we already believe, even when it's unnecessary. She believed it was him. She knew it was him. But knowing wasn't enough. She needed proof. And that need cost her everything. Because in horror, you don't need confirmation. You need action. Case file 9, the garage escape asterisk. Now imagine a different situation. You're trapped, cornered, but not helpless. There's space around you. Tools, objects, opportunities, and most importantly, you have the advantage. The attacker is down, weak, vulnerable. This is your moment. You can fight. You can escape. You can survive. But instead, you make a choice that seems logical in the moment. You look for the easiest way out. A small opening, just enough to squeeze through. It looks possible. It feels possible. But it's not. And that's the problem. Because instead of using your advantage, you gamble everything on a shortcut. And shortcuts are dangerous, especially when they're based on hope instead of reality. She tries to fit. For a moment, it almost works, but almost isn't enough. She gets stuck. And in horror, being stuck is the same as being dead. The illusion of easy escape asterisk. When under stress, the brain looks for the fastest solution, not the best one. This is called escape bias. Instead of assessing all options, we latch onto the first one that seems possible, even if it's flawed, even if it's risky. Because in that moment, anything that feels like escape feels right. But horror doesn't reward shortcuts. It punishes them. Because survival isn't about what's easiest. It's about what works. Case file 10, the foot. Now we come to one of the most infamous decisions in horror. A man trapped, chained, desperate. Time is running out. Options are limited. And in front of him is a tool. A saw, not meant for precision, not meant for survival. But in that moment, it becomes both. Because he believes it's his only way out. Cut the chain, escape, live. But there's a problem. The chain isn't the weakest point. He is. And instead of analyzing the situation, instead of exploring alternatives, he chooses the most extreme option. He cuts his own foot. Pain beyond comprehension. Irreversible. Permanent. And for what? Because the solution was never the chain. It was the asterisk approach. Desperation and tunnel vision. When humans feel trapped, they stop thinking in possibilities. They think in ultimatums. It's this or nothing. This is called binary thinking. And it's incredibly dangerous. Because it removes creativity. It removes patience. It removes logic. And replaces it with impulse. The truth is, there are almost always more options than we think. But desperation blinds us to them. And in horror, that blindness is fatal. The pattern becomes clear asterisk. At this point, it's impossible to ignore. These decisions aren't random. They follow a pattern. Every single one of them is rooted in something real. The need to know. The urge to escape quickly. The inability to think under pressure. The fear of being wrong. the instinct to act immediately. And when you combine these instincts, you get something terrifying. A human being trying to survive. But here's the twist asterisk. What if these decisions weren't actually dumb? What if they were inevitable? What if, in the same situation, with the same fear, the same pressure, you would have done the exact same thing? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Horror doesn't expose stupidity. It exposes humanity. And humanity is flawed. What happens when someone makes the right decision? This is where things take a turn. Because up until now, we've seen what happens when people fail. But what about the opposite? What about the rare moments when someone does everything right? They don't look back. They don't hesitate. They don't panic. They think. They adapt. They survive. What happens then? Do they escape? Do they win? Or does horror find another way? Because the next part of this story isn't just about mistakes. It's about the illusion of control and the terrifying idea that sometimes even the right decision isn't enough. Doing everything right and still losing . There's a comforting lie we all believe. A quiet assumption that helps us sleep at night. If I make the right decisions, I'll be okay. It's logical. It makes sense. It gives us control. But horror has never been about fairness. Because sometimes you can do everything right and still not make it out. Case file 11, the smart one. Every horror story has one. The person who gets it. The one who doesn't ignore the signs. Doesn't take unnecessary risks. Doesn't split up. They're careful, observant, calculated. They lock doors. They check windows. They question everything. And for a while, it works. They survive longer than everyone else. They avoid the obvious traps. They stay one step ahead. But horror doesn't just test intelligence. It tests endurance. Because eventually, even the smartest person gets tired. And when exhaustion sets in, mistakes follow. The breaking point. Sleep deprivation. Stress. Fear. These aren't just emotional states. They're biological weapons. After prolonged fear, the brain begins to degrade. Decision-making slows. Reaction time drops. Judgment weakens. Even the most logical person becomes vulnerable. And that's when horror strikes. Not at your weakest physically, but at your weakest mentally. Because survival isn't just about one good decision. It's about making hundreds of them without failing. And no one can do that forever. Case file 12, the group that split up. It's the most criticized decision in horror history. The one everyone laughs at. Why would they split up? But here's the thing. In real life, people do it all the time. Because splitting up feels efficient. More ground covered. More chances to find help. More control. It feels like a smart decision. But horror thrives on isolation. And the moment the group separates, the rules change. Strength becomes weakness. Numbers become vulnerability. Because now, everyone is alone. And alone is exactly where horror wants you. The illusion of strategy. This is what makes this decision so dangerous. It's not emotional. It's not impulsive. It's logical. Or at least, it appears to be. But logic without full information is just guesswork. And in horror, you never have the full picture. You don't know where the threat is. You don't know how it thinks. You don't know what it's capable of. So every strategic decision is built on incomplete data. And incomplete data leads to fatal outcomes. Case file 13, the one who didn't believe. Now let's talk about denial again. But this time, on a deeper level. Not ignoring danger. Rejecting it. A person is told something impossible. Something that doesn't fit their understanding of the world. A monster. A curse. Something unnatural. And their response, that's not real. They laugh it off. Dismiss it. Rationalize it. Because accepting it would mean changing everything they believe. And that's harder than ignoring it. Cognitive dissonance. This is one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior. When reality contradicts belief, the brain doesn't immediately accept reality. It fights it. It creates explanations, excuses, alternatives, anything to avoid rewriting its understanding of the world. But horror doesn't care about your beliefs. It doesn't need your acceptance. It just needs time. And by the time reality becomes undeniable, the opportunity to act is already gone. Case file 14, the overconfident survivor. Now imagine someone who's already survived. They've faced the horror. They've escaped it. They've beaten it. Or at least, they think they have. This is where a new danger appears. Not fear. Not panic. Confidence. They've seen it before. They understand it. They believe they can handle it. And that belief becomes their weakness. The danger of experience. Experience creates patterns, expectations, assumptions. But horror evolves. It changes, adapts, breaks its own rules. So the person who thinks they understand it is actually at a disadvantage because they're not reacting to what's happening. They're reacting to what they think will happen. And that gap is where horror wins. Case file 15, the door that shouldn't be opened. Let's go back to something simple. A door. Closed. Quiet. Unexplained. Behind it, something unknown. Now here's the question. Why open it? There's no reason to. No benefit. No reward. Only risk. And yet, people do it anyway. Every time. Curiosity versus survival asterisk. Curiosity is one of the strongest human traits. It drives discovery, innovation, progress. But in horror, it's a liability. Because not everything needs to be explored. Not everything needs to be understood. Some things are better left alone. But the brain doesn't work that way. It sees the unknown as a problem, something to solve, and that need to solve it overrides fear, which leads to one inevitable outcome. The door opens, and whatever was behind it is now free. The realization asterisk. At this point, something becomes clear. It's not just the dumb decisions that lead to failure. It's all asterisk decisions. Emotional, logical, careful, impulsive. Every path has risk. Every choice has consequences. And horror exists in that space. Not in the monster, not in the darkness, but in the moment of decision. So what's the right choice? That's the question, isn't it? If curiosity kills, but ignorance blinds. If action leads to danger, but hesitation leads to death, then what's left? What's the correct way to survive? The answer isn't simple, because survival isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about understanding them, learning from them, recognizing the patterns before it's too late. And that brings us to the final part of this story. Because now, we're going to do something different. We're going to take everything we've seen, every mistake, every decision, every failure, and ask one final question. If you were there, what would you actually do? Not what sounds smart, not what feels right, but what would truly give you a chance to survive. Because the answer might not be what you expect, and it might reveal something even more terrifying. That survival was never in your control to begin with. If it were you, would you survive? Let's stop pretending. Up until now, it's been easy. Easy to judge, easy to analyze, easy to sit at a safe distance and say, I would have done it differently. But now, strip everything away. No screen, no pause button, no second chances. Just you, a dark hallway, a strange sound, a decision waiting to be made. What do you do? Do you investigate? Or do you walk away? Because whatever you choose, it says something about you. And more importantly, it determines what happens next. The truth about survival asterisk. Here's something most horror stories never say out loud. Survival isn't about being brave. It's not about being smart. It's not even about being strong. It's about asterisk managing fear. Because fear is the one thing that connects every single mistake we've seen. Not the monster, not the situation. Fear makes you curious. Fear makes you hesitate. Fear makes you rush. Fear makes you trust. Fear makes you doubt. It doesn't guide you. It controls asterisk you. And unless you recognize that, you're not making decisions. Fear is. The 5 fatal patterns. By now, every dumb decision falls into one of 5 patterns. Asterisk 1, curiosity over survival asterisk. You saw it in the pipe, the door, the unknown. The need to know becomes stronger than the need to live. And that's the first trap. Because in horror, knowledge isn't power, it's exposure. Asterisk 2, emotion over logic asterisk. Letting someone in, looking back, trying to confirm. These aren't stupid decisions. They're human ones. But horror punishes humanity. Because emotion slows you down, clouds your judgment, and gives danger exactly what it needs. Time. Asterisk 3, speed over thinking. Reaching into the trap, choosing the fastest escape, acting without understanding. In panic, speed feels like survival. But speed without direction is just chaos. And chaos leads straight into danger. Asterisk 4, confidence over awareness. The experienced survivor, the one who thinks they understand. Confidence creates blind spots. It makes you stop questioning, stop adapting. And in horror, the moment you think you're in control, you've already lost it. Asterisk 5, denial over reality. Ignoring warnings, refusing to believe, waiting too long. This is the most dangerous one, because by the time denial fades, the damage is already done. So what actually works? If all these patterns lead to failure, then what's left? What decision actually gives you a chance? The answer isn't heroic. It isn't dramatic. It isn't cinematic. It's simple, uncomfortable, and honestly, a little boring. You leave. You don't investigate. You don't confirm. You don't explore. You walk away. From the sound. From the door. From the situation. You don't need answers. You don't need closure. You need distance. Because distance is the only real advantage you have. But here the problem. Most people won't do that. Not because they're stupid, but because it goes against human nature. We want to understand. We want to help. We want to be sure. And horror exploits all of that. It doesn't create monsters. It reveals instincts. The final twist. Now here's the part no one likes to hear. Even if you do everything right, you might still lose. Because some situations aren't survivable. Some environments are designed to trap you. Some threats can't be outrun. And that's what makes horror so powerful. It removes the illusion of control. It forces you to face a reality where not every story has a good ending. So why do we watch? If it's so frustrating, so unfair, so inevitable, why do we keep watching? Why do we keep coming back to these stories? Because deep down, we're not watching them fail. We're testing ourselves. Every decision, every moment, every choice, we're asking, what would I do? And hopping, we do better. But would you? Think about everything we've seen. The curiosity, the fear, the hesitation, the denial. All of it exists in you, in all of us. So the next time you watch a horror movie and someone makes a dumb decision, pause for a second and ask yourself, if I were there, would I really do anything different? Because the answer might be more unsettling than the movie itself. The silence returns. And now, we're back where we started. That quiet moment, that stillness, that choice, a sound in the distance, a door slightly open, a feeling that something isn't right. And once again, you're standing there, deciding, do you stay or do you leave? Because whatever you choose, this time, there's no script.